Welcome to What the Bible Says, a Lugnuts podcast group production. Hello and welcome to a unnamed depression podcast.
Have a contest or something like that, which the prize is the respect and admiration of everyone in the room.
Oh, I thought they get to name the podcast, but I mean, if you're gonna have a contest,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what they win. We name the contest. You know, whoever wins the contest naming gets the respect and admiration of everyone in the room.
Okay,
that's what you win.
Okay.
So
they choose the title.
Okay.
But then they get the respect and admiration of everyone in the room.
Everyone in the room. Right now, it's 2.
I like it. I'm going to do a poll, and we're going to have a contest.
Whatever.
I like it. So, if you haven't been, if this is your first time listening to us, we're going through Ed Welch's book, Looking Up from the Stubborn Darkness. It's a book on depression. We've done the first 5 chapters already. If you haven't listened to those, you can go back and listen to them. We are on chapter 6. It's called Cry Out to the Lord. Give you a brief how we do things. We just go through, pick out the most important things that we have either underlined or thought was important or stood out to us the most. We do go into some of the background on our brief time with depression and all that great stuff. If you have been listening to us, we're kind of getting to the point where you need to start gaining your own hope here. You can still have lean on ours, but we're starting to get to that point where, you know, there's been some things where you can find your own hope in here, especially with the couple of questions that have been in the last chapter. So we're going to get right into things here. I like how it kind of starts off with, you know, kind of starts talking about Rick, whoever Rick is, how he's been depressed for 10 years. And, you know, it kind of goes into and it has an explanation of it was a combination of pain, it being depression, of pain and numbness. And I kind of like felt similar with that, just not, I guess, to that extent. I mean, it was painful, but not like, ow, it hurts. But there was a definite, you know, it hurts, but not physical. It was a very spiritual and it was very mental. It was mentally hurtful because, I mean, it took me into a place where I don't want to go, but yet I still find myself struggling even now, almost going back into that point. But now I have the tools in order to fight it off. So I really stood out to me when it said it was a combination of pain and numbness. And depression was a thick wall that separated him from other people. That too was me. I mean, I felt separated from everybody, even though I masked myself. Like I was just fine, all peachy, everything's hunky-dory. But really, I was like screaming for help, even though I never asked for it because I was too scared and too comfortable being depressed because I didn't want to change and I didn't want to figure out how to change and was scared because, well, I don't know that person on the other side that has, I don't want to say no problems, but is depression free because I've never been in that state because I've been depressed for so long. I don't remember it. So,
and what you do is you begin to, even though you want help, you isolate yourself. And the more you just continue just to kind of turn inward, and that's what this whole chapter is all about, is that's the last thing you want to do. We had a men's Bible study this morning, and one of the guys rightly just noted that That's what Satan wants you to believe, is that you're in it all by yourself. There's no help out there at all. And even that thick wall, it just talks on its first page. Not only does it exist between other people, but there's a thick wall between you and God as well. And so you just all of a sudden just kind of get this. And that's kind of how I felt. It was pretty pathetic, actually, just to kind of curl up in a ball and just think, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, think I'll eat some worms type of mentality.
Right. And I love the quote that I guess Rick says. He said, it's help, this is too much to bear. And it's him calling out to the Lord. And I wrote in the book on one of the sides here, this is what I said to a group of two friends that I was very, very close to at the time. I spent about 2 hours after one of the harvest parties that we have at our church, spent about 2 hours just talking with these two people and just spilled my guts out. And it was just mentally refreshing, spiritually refreshing, that I had two people that I could lean on and trust, because that was another thing that I had going for me, was a lot of trust issues. So even though I wanted help, I didn't think I could trust anybody, because I thought they would do something to break my trust or go behind my back and start telling other people about what I was telling them. So I was like, you know what? I'm just not even going to risk it. Just don't even talk to people. Then I don't know what happened. I was like, you know what? I gotta change.
Right.
I don't know what it was. I just woke up that Sunday and I was like, you know what? It's time to
crawl out of the pit.
It's time to crawl out of the pit, and it's time to just be free, And it was just, but then
Let me interject real quick. That
Yeah.
brings to mind a psalm. And I think this is really applicable to where we're at right now. Psalm 40, verse 1 says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. I think that might be where, if your listeners or you have somebody this morning who's just in that very isolated state, Psalm 40 to me is that I was in that pit, that pit of despair, and I felt all alone, and really turning to the Lord to have him not only help you out of that pit, but to put a new song in your mouth as well.
Yeah.
That's great hope.
I love I use the CSB Bible, and it says, he brought me out of a desolate pit.
Yeah.
And there's a little A in my Bible. It says, or watery pit. So I found that to be very interesting. But as I was going to say, on the flip side of that, unfortunately, that night, on my way home, a deer ran out and hit my car. Now, it was blind luck. But how I was at the time, my mind went to, well, you spent 2 hours spilling your guts out to two people. If you wouldn't have talked to those two people, your car would be fine, no issues. And it took me about 2 weeks. Actually, it took me until I beat my depression to get out of that thought of, well, if I wouldn't have talked to those two people, then I'd be fine.
Right.
So it was nice to spill my guts out, but then 45 minutes later, I'm kind of right back where I started.
Sure.
So I take 5 steps forward and then 2 steps back. I mean, so yes, I was getting better, but it just kind of hurt when you feel like you're on the right track and then you just regress.
But as long as you have more going forward than going back, That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So, let's see. I don't want to spend all my time on page 41.
Well, basically it says depression bends inward. Depression has a tendency to just look at yourself and just, and this is where it's the hard part about this, because it's easy to begin to have a pity party for yourself and have a woe is me. And it doesn't mean that what you're going through isn't difficult, but it just becomes all about who you are. And so, where this chapter is going is there are other alternatives. Mm-hmm. And that's where the two choices that it talks about. It says you can either just continue just to focus on who you are and you're, stay in that slimy pit.
Right.
Or your decision, you can call out to the Lord. You can cry out, you can cry out on your bed or cry to the Lord. These are the two choices. And I wrote down on my notes, it's a tough truth.
Yeah.
It is, because again, what happens sometimes when we're in our depression, depending upon what's happened to us, it doesn't mean that something terrible hasn't happened, but you can become to have a victim's mentality. Mm-hmm. And, you begin to just become balling up, isolating yourself. And the more you do that, the deeper you're going to go into that
right.
pit. That pit, right. All you're doing is just you're going down the ladder instead of up the ladder. Mm-hmm. But it's a tough truth to say, no, there is another alternative here, and that is to cry out to the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Then the next little subsection there is God names the silences, and the topic sentence under that is God might feel far away, but our feelings mislead us on this one. And that is just so true, because God is always right there if we just call out to him. Mm-hmm. That's all we have to do. But it feels as though, well, I'm here on earth, here, and God is in heaven. So how could he be right here if he's in heaven? Because he's just feels like he's so far away. And especially when you're in like a state of depression or you're just in a lot of suffering or whatever. I mean, it could feel like he's not even there. And that's where Satan is trying to get at you, and your mind is trying to mislead you and trick you to thinking, well, no one's here to help you. You're on your own. Mm-hmm. Snooze, you lose. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that is something that is just so true, that God is always right there, and our feelings mislead us that he feels so far away.
And it's okay, because again, I just like Psalm 13:1 down at the bottom, to just say, how long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? There's nothing wrong with, that's a whole nother podcast sometime on holy lamenting.
Yes.
How do we lament in a biblical way? Because the problem is that, suck it up, buttercup. Is not biblical.
No.
And it's really not helpful.
No.
But you also want to say, yelling and cursing and screaming at God and saying, what's going on? I don't understand all this, is not a good way either. So let's come to the middle and say, what does holy lamenting look like? And just that first psalm really helps my thinking. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so honestly, just talking to God, and this is how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed, I have to say I enjoyed all the Psalms, but the ones that I starred were 13:1, and then Psalm 55, 4 through 7, and then 69, Psalm 69, 2 through 3, and then the last one, which is Psalm 88, 3, 6, 13, and 14. I really enjoyed those four. I liked all five, but those four just really stuck out to me the most. I would read those, but I don't want to make this a 30-minute, 45-minute podcast. So
I think it's just a matter of just taking captive your thinking. That's the key.
Yeah.
Instead of just letting your mind just begin to zing, we're out of control, it's just to say, take captive your thinking. One of the best ways to do that is just to either read scripture or have memorized it so you can just recite it to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then I really liked one part of this chapter, subsection, which is the Psalms of Jesus. I think it's the third paragraph. It talks about you can't turn back on your on yourself, and because all your thoughts turn back on yourself, which is oppressive, and you can't carry the load. And I put in my notes, that's the 3 piles, because there's things that are for
3
us.
piles.
There you go. There's things that are our pile, other people's pile, and then God's pile. God's pile we shouldn't even worry about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, other people's pile we shouldn't worry about either. We just need to worry about our pile. But we get so wrapped up in everything that we just overbear ourselves with stuff that if we just take a step back and say, do I really need to worry about this?
Or can I do anything about it?
Right. right. There's the other question you need to ask.
That's, and it's not a just defaulting and not caring, but again, I think that's for me personally, that's where it's something that I have no way to control, no button to push, no lever to pull to somehow change the outcome. And so if that's the case, that's what Jesus said, who of you by worrying can add a single hour to his life? Well, who of you by worrying can do blah, 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 whatever the case might be.
And then I really enjoyed in the last paragraph, that first sentence in that subsection, hope, as you will find, is a skill that takes practice. And that is so true because you think you can master it right off the bat, and you can't. Everything takes practice. But as you keep doing it, it starts getting easier. It starts becoming a habit. And then it's like second nature. And, that's probably something that's probably most important for our listeners to take away is, just practice hope. Because if you don't practice hope, then, well, you're not going to have it. It's kind of obvious. That's like a duh statement right there. But the more you practice it, the more you'll get it. And then the next subsection is call out often. So it's like, don't call out to God once. Do it often. Yeah. Especially in the time of suffering, because that's the time to really call out to the Lord. That's when he wants you to call out to the Lord. Obviously he wants you to call out to him all the time, but especially in the state of suffering, because he knows that the only way through it is with his help. So he's like, I'm right here. I am waiting.
I like the quote. It says, "To the prayers offered in the state of dryness are those which please him best." Because there's sometimes where you just feel like you're going through the motions, and you're lacking that emotion, but don't let that hinder you from expressing how you feel, or to read the Psalms, or let the Word of God minister to your heart.
Mm-hmm. And in that next paragraph too, feelings don't define faith. That alone right there is just great. And then in the response, I know I'm probably skipping a whole lot, but it's kind of what we have to do. I really enjoyed just how the response ends with Psalm 62:8. Trust him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart to him, for God is our refuge. That is just a great way to end this chapter. I mean, if you don't take anything away from this chapter, if you're like, well, nothing's really stood out to me until this point, this Psalm 62:8 should be, you talk about trigger verses. This could be a trigger verse for somebody. Just memorize Psalm 62:8, and I think it'll help anyone help to call out to the Lord, and also remember, hey, he's right here all the time. Unless you have anything else to add.
So our listeners can hear me nodding.
Next week, I think. Or
I will not. Oh yeah. I got a bus route I'm going to run next week, but I should be back. So yeah, we should be on next week.
Okay, we'll plan on next week. Hopefully, if not, Whenever.
We'll get to it.
Be prepared, chapter 7, entitled Warfare. Now we start getting into, I would say, the meat of the book. Still not to my favorite chapter yet, which is chapter 9, and then everything that I've been trying to hold back will be brought out. But until then, for Steve Cox, I'm Kenny Cramer saying so long, and we'll see you next week.
We hope you enjoyed the podcast today. If you did, please check out our website for more podcast episodes and shows at thelugnauspodcastgroup.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram, and we will see you next week.